So I doubt that most corporate guys can get lean eating out 4 times a week, but I'm gonna show you guys how I did it. So if you stay to the end of this video, my big promise is to give you guys the exact 3 steps and the exact 3 rules I use when eating out at restaurants in order for me to lose 25 pounds while working 10-hour days in a corporate job. So let's get right into the video. So first off, when I was in corporate, I was working 10-hour days. I had client dinners like almost every other night. I was doing those late night takeout orders on Uber Eats. And honestly, I always thought that discipline in the moment, discipline when I was at the restaurant was gonna be the make or break to me getting in shape versus the make or break for me not getting in shape. But as I come to learn, discipline fades and motivation doesn't. Think of it like this. Like, this is what I really want you guys to think about. Like, you don't need discipline in order to brush your teeth. You just do it because that's the standard. You also don't need discipline to show up for work every day in the morning because you just do it because that's the standard. And if you don't do it, you already know what the consequences would be. So what I've learned over time and through training and working with so many different guys is that high performers, they don't necessarily rely on motivation. They just set non-negotiables for themselves. So I want to talk to you guys through some of the standards I use for myself when I was eating out. So number one, this might be a little controversial, but I would always ask for like a big pitcher of water. Like, you know those big ass pitchers of water that they would use? So typically when you ask them for water, they'll like either bring a pitcher to the table and then they'll fill up your cup. And so I would ask them like, hey, can I actually just get like that pitcher that you're using right now? Can you just leave it here? Because I'm going to keep asking you for more water. So instead of you having to keep coming back and pour me water every time, why not just like leave it on this table? And then whenever I'm thirsty, I can just pour it myself. And so doing this was super beneficial for me just because it allowed me to drink a ton of water before my food even came. And that would kill off my cravings. And oftentimes I would always mess up, not in the moment, not when I'm ordering, but it was after I placed my order, because I would order and then after I ordered, I'm like waiting for my food to come and then I get a little bit more hungry. I check the menu again because obviously menus, a lot of them are digital nowadays. I check the menu again and I'm like, oh, that looks actually really good too. You know, I kind of want to try that too. And so boom, I'd order a second meal or I'd order a second appetizer or something. I would order something. And that was always what would kill me. And that was always what would throw me over the edge. And so now, ever since I started drinking more and more water, that craving to actually want to order more food after I ordered my initial meal kind of just completely died down. So that was the first thing I did. And that also not only stopped me from like ordering more food than I should have, it also made me eat a lot slower because my stomach was already full with like water. I could actually think more clearly and I wasn't as in a rush to eat my food. I eat really, really fast for context. And when I feel full, I'm obviously going to slow down. And naturally, when you're hungry, you eat really, really fast. But when your body's already full, you kind of like tell yourself, like you kind of auto-regulate. You kind of tell yourself, you know what, like I'm already kind of full. Let me just slow it down a little bit. And so that's what I was doing. I would just slow it down a little bit. And that was only due to the water. So that's the first step I can give when eating out. The second thing I would do is make sure you're getting protein first, always. So I don't care if you're ordering an appetizer. I don't care if you're ordering like your main meal, your entree, whatever. Make sure it has protein in it. And if you're not doing this, you're kind of cooked. I can't even lie, kind of cooked. Protein first. The reason why you want to do protein first is because protein, out of the big macronutrients, you got like carbs, you got protein, you got fats. Protein is the one that takes the longest for your body to break down. And it's the one that will probably get you closer to your fitness goals. My whole program, PCT, protein, calories, time in the gym, protein is like one of the building blocks. And so you want to make sure you hit a certain protein target each and every single day. And making sure that your meals have protein first will allow you to make sure that, one, the meals are actually keeping you full and satiated, meaning that you're not going to really want to snack on other things after you consume that meal because of how much protein it has. And also think about it like this. It's really it's really hard to mess up on your diet when you have a bunch of protein in your system. There's something I like to call, I feel like I made this up. No, I didn't make this up. I've never heard this before. But I call it post-protein clarity. For example, let me give you an example. There's a lot of guys, so as men, we got 2 heads. You know, we got a head up here, we got a head down there, if you know what I mean. And so sometimes a lot of men can be carried away by their second head. So not this one up here, but the one down there. And after they get carried away, they come to a state of realization when they're like, oh man, like I really shouldn't have done that, or I really should have done whatever. So they come to a state of realization. And then they reflect on their choices, and they reflect and they're like, you know what, I could have done better. And so they have like that post something clarity. Let's just call it like that, right? They got the post clarity, post action clarity. You know what I mean? They got the post action clarity. But when you have enough protein in your system, in my opinion, you get something called post-protein clarity. Because now you have so much protein in your system, you're not, before you wanted to order a pizza, you wanted to order a bunch of dessert, but now when you have all that protein in your system, you're not really as tempted. You're like, you can't really get me with that. I'm good. Pass on that. And so you need a post-protein clarity. And you get post-protein clarity by making sure that each of your meals is a protein focused and you're getting protein from good sources too. So when I say protein focused, I don't just mean like any protein. If the main protein in your meal is like bacon, pork in general has a very low protein to fat ratio. So a very high protein to fat ratio. For example, lean chicken, so like chicken breast, has not that many calories, not that much fat in it, but a ton of protein. So that's a really good source of protein because you're getting in the essentials without getting in a whole bunch of extra other stuff that you don't need. Pork, for example, it doesn't have that much protein, but it has a bunch of calories in it. And so it's not an efficient source of protein. So you want to make sure that whatever protein you're getting from an efficient source of protein. Some of the best efficient sources of protein, I could probably throw up a list, but what do we got for best efficient sources of protein? We got lean chicken breast, we got lean ground beef, and those are typically like some of the best. Fish is really good, especially white fish is really, really good. So I would try to lean more towards those, and I would try to lean more towards the proteins which aren't necessarily on the list, which are things like bacon. What's another really just bad source of protein? Mainly, honestly, pork in general is like a bad source of protein. It's just not a very good source of protein. So I would lean away from those ones. So that's number 2. So I only have 3 rules. This is gonna be the third and final rule that I have, which is gonna be skip the bread basket. I don't know about y'all, and if you guys have been watching my YouTube content for a while, you understand that I really love my sweets. Like I love my sweets. Like I be having ice cream like every day. I be stopping for cookies. Like donuts. Man, I'm just thinking about it right now. I really like my sweets. And so another thing I really like is carbs. Another thing I really like is bread. Unfortunately, something like bread is really, really easy to it's really easy to overeat. And so with bread, what I do whenever I'm at restaurants, especially restaurants with really nice bread, I'll either limit myself to like 1 or 2 pieces and like that's it, period. Or what I'll do is I'll just completely tell myself, no bread for you today. Because when you start, you can't stop. Because it's so easy, it's so snackable, and it's free. Because you're already paying for the food, but you're like, wait, you're giving me this for free? And so what I'll do is I'll just tell them like, all right, like no bread for me. Just don't even bring bread to the table. Don't even bother. But if I'm eating with other people, obviously I sometimes don't have the power to do so. So obviously I'm not going to stop other people from eating bread if they want to eat bread. And so I'll just make sure that myself, I just don't partake in it. It's so easy with bread to overeat and eat like an extra 500, 1,000, 1,500 empty calories before your food even comes. And so that's one of the other reasons why I kind of stay away from bread, just because it's really easy to overeat, to over snack on, and it just has a bunch of calories that you don't need. Literally a slice of bread is like 150 calories, like for like just a regular slice. So now imagine adding butter to that. That's an extra 50 calories. Boom, 200 calories per slice. Now imagine if you pick 2 or 3, 600 calories right there. That's crazy. And like let's just say you get carried away, you take like 5, and you're like, I won't touch it anymore. That's 1,000 calories right there. You already cooked your calorie deficit for the day, almost for the week too. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure that you're just not giving yourself those opportunities to ruin your progress. And so those are like the 3 main tips and the 3 main standards I set for myself when eating out at restaurants. Those have been really, really easy to stick to. Before in the past, I would have like 20 different rules that I needed to stick to. Like, make sure I can't do this. Make sure I don't do this. Make sure no fried food. Make sure no this, no this. And obviously over time, you can add those things in to make it so that, you're a lot more compliant. You're a lot more intentional about the food that you're putting into your body. But it does get kind of overwhelming sometimes. And sometimes when you're having a really long day and you're at a client dinner, it's easy to forget some of these rules. So that's why I'd rather just pick with 3 rules that I can remember each and every single time I step into any restaurant, no matter what, versus having like a whole list of 20 different rules where the day I'm too tired, it's going out the window. I'm not following that. In the moment, it's really hard to use your discipline when your stomach's hungry and when you haven't eaten all day, you've had a stressful day, you just got an extra workload, clients are stressful, yada, yada, yada. It's hard when you're in that state to now want to, follow some rules. I would just rather have 3 rules that I stick to, which help me and which have helped my clients eat out properly, guilt-free. I think guilt-free is also one of the most important things, because when I was still working corporate and when I was working, my 9 to 5, working as a corporate banking associate for the biggest bank here in Canada, RBC, the biggest problem I had was my guilt, because I always knew that I could be doing better and I knew I should be doing better, but I would never stick to it because I'd feel guilty because every single time I mess up, and that guilt would now transfer over to the next day, and I would start the next day guilty. And because I'm already feeling guilty, there's a lot of things I should be doing which I just wasn't doing, and that would lead me to feeling even more guilty, and I'd just be caught in this like little circle, this little trap of just all constantly feeling guilty. And I think that was one of the biggest things that kept me stuck for the longest time. And the thing is, you have standards for yourself, and obviously if you're a high performer, you're obviously doing well for yourself, right? Like you're working a good job, you're on paper you're doing pretty good. But I think a lot of us, so the person watching this and myself at the time, deep down you could be doing better. Like that, like, yeah, I'm not even at my full potential for real. Like I'm just kind of cruising, and this is something that deep down I know that I'm not really locked in. I'm not really pushing as hard as I should. And it's that guilt that I had of me just not really being my true self that would eat me up. It wasn't until I started making less rules for myself, like these 3 rules that I just gave you guys when eating out at a restaurant, and it was actually easier to follow, and I actually followed them, and I stuck through with it, that I would get the confidence to not feel guilty. And now I have the confidence, I don't feel guilty anymore, and now I can actually stick to what I'm supposed to stick to. So that was it for me, and like that's exactly how I kind of got in shape and kind of conquered my fear of eating out, just having like 3 simple rules at the restaurant. And I kind of want to share that with you. And if you can eat like this, you can have a crazy transformation, and this is exactly how you can stay lean while eating out and make everything just automatic for you.